Do you ever feel like you're just constantly on? You know, your phone's buzzing, emails piling up, social media, it's just swirling around you. And this endless list of things you should be doing. It feels like the volume's cranked way up, right? And you're just trying to keep your head above water. Maybe wondering if there's some kind of shortcut, a secret path to figuring out what actually matters in all that noise. A way to cut through the digital stuff, the expectations, and find a sense of, I guess, purpose instead of just reacting all the time. Well, today we're actually going to look at a shortcut, but it's a really old one, surprisingly. We're diving deep into Henry David Thoreau's Walden, or Life in the Woods, yeah, published way back in 1854. Now, don't let that date fool you. This isn't just some dusty old book. It's really an audacious experiment in living, a profoundly personal guide, and honestly, a pretty radical challenge to how we think about life, even now. Walden is this fascinating mix, really. It's part memoir of his own incredible experiment, part sharp social critique of his time, and part, well, a philosophical look at truths that feel shockingly relevant today in our always-on world. So our mission for you today is to pull out the most important nuggets, the surprising insights from Thoreau's retreat. You know, the 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days he spent out there. We want to understand his path to what he called deliberate living and see what wisdom he might offer us from, the quiet of Walden Pond. Okay, let's unpack this fascinating journey into the woods and into the mind of Thoreau.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? How insights from the mid-1800s still hit home so hard today. He was tackling these fundamental questions about what makes a life truly rich. And these questions, they just keep echoing, maybe even louder now, in our busy, sometimes fragmented lives.
It's remarkable, yeah. So let's set the scene for this experiment. Picture it. 1845. Thoreau, he's 28. And he's feeling deeply disillusioned with all the changes he sees. Industrialization is ramping up. Materialism is growing. He feels like society's pushing people away from their true selves. He needs something radical, not just a weekend off. So he decides to retreat. Not to some remote mountain, but to a tiny cabin, like 10 by 15 feet, that he built himself, right there on the shore of Walden Pond, just outside Concord, Massachusetts. And this wasn't casual. He committed to it for a very specific time. 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. That's extraordinary dedication to an idea, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That duration itself, it speaks volumes about his intention. His main goal was pretty clear, to live deliberately. He wasn't just running from something. He was actively looking for something. He wanted to strip away the non-essentials, to really engage with life. This meant watching nature intensely and crucially reflecting deeply on, well, the essence of life, consumerism, personal growth. It was a very conscious choice against the way things were heading back then towards industry, complexity, and what he saw as kind of shallow goals. He wanted to get to the core of what life was really about.
And he really walked the talk, didn't he? It's one thing to philosophize about simple living, but Thoreau actually did it. He built it. When you read the economy chapter in Walden, it's not just abstract ideas. He meticulously details how he built the cabin, so little cost, using reclaimed stuff. He talks about managing his incredibly minimal expenses. What was it, like $27 for the cabin materials, and how he lived off the land, growing beans, basically feeding himself. It was a real hands-on experiment in self-sufficiency, a literal blueprint for living with less. He wanted to prove life didn't have to be as complicated or as expensive as society was making it seem.
It's a remarkable testament, yeah. And this practical side feeds directly into his philosophy. It leads us right to chapters like Where I Lived and What I Lived For. He famously wrote, and this quote just echoes, doesn't it? I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life. That phrase, front only the essential facts, is so powerful. It implies this active confrontation, like really facing what matters, not just getting swept along. And this connects straight to his big theme, simplicity and self-reliance. Thoreau is convinced that just paring down our possessions, keeping only what's truly necessary, it frees us up. He saw excessive wealth and luxury as a kind of trap, actually, making life more complicated, pulling people away from their real purpose, from growing. He wasn't just saying, tidy your house. He was urging us to simplify our whole existence, to focus on what counts, famously saying, simplify, simplify. It was radical. Form of liberation, really. What did that look like today when you're drowning in apps and notifications? It's still about cutting through noise to find clarity.
Simplify, simplify. It almost sounds like a modern self-help thing, doesn't it? Though I doubt he was thinking about decluttering your phone apps. But it raises a good point. How far did he take it? And how can we apply it without, packing up for a cabin tomorrow? He definitely found a huge piece of that, what truly matters, in nature itself. Simplifying his external life clearly opened up space for him to explore. And so much of that exploring was in nature. He spent countless hours at Walden, just observing in chapters like Solitude or The Bean Field, where he talks about farming beans and watching nature, brute neighbors, detailing animal observations. He gives us these incredibly vivid pictures. You can almost feel the seasons change, see the animals, the beauty of the forest through his words. He was truly immersed.
He absolutely was. And he saw nature as the ultimate source of knowledge and inspiration. For Thoreau, nature wasn't just pretty scenery for his experiment. It was a living classroom, a profound teacher. He really believed that by observing nature, watching the cycles, the resilience, the connections, we could understand ourselves and life's truths much more deeply. He wrote about the tonic of the wilderness, how just being in nature could kind of restore and clarify your mind, which raises a big question for all of us, right? What can we learn if we just pay closer attention to the world around us? Even if we just strip away some distractions and really look. Even in a city, pausing to notice, I don't know, the pattern on a leaf or a plant pushing through concrete or how a river flows. There are lessons there about patience, connection, survival.
That's a really profound thought. Makes you think about what we miss just rushing around, doesn't matter where we are. But his sharp eye wasn't just for the woods. When he looked back at the society he left, especially in chapters like Visitors, he turned that same critical lens on it. On industrialization, the whole relentless chase for wealth. And this is where it gets really interesting because he lays out this powerful critique of society. He really targeted industrialization, capitalism, and the blind pursuit of wealth that he saw growing in his time. He argued it was fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, he felt that modern society was alienating individuals from their true selves. He was especially critical of things like the railroad. He saw it literally and metaphorically, paving over nature, symbolizing humanity's rush for progress at any cost. He worried people were becoming tools of their tools, losing themselves in the systems and tech they created instead of being liberated by them. It's a pretty somber observation, but one he felt deeply, that most people live lives of quiet desperation, bound by material needs and social expectations. He saw this desperation as this quiet inner suffering, a sense of unfulfillment from living a life dictated by others, not by your own values. This really holds a mirror up to our own society, doesn't it? His words from almost 200 years ago make you ask if that still holds true today. Are we living our own kinds of quiet desperation, bound by maybe different, subtler pressures?
It's a powerful question, definitely. And it leads right into his passionate stance on individual freedom. Thoreau didn't just want to simplify, he wanted to liberate. He saw society's demands as a kind of prison. He was a strong advocate for civil disobedience, for following your own conscience above everything else, standing firm against just fitting in.
Exactly. He wanted people to think independently and not conform to societal pressures. He believed in marching to your own beat, famously saying, if a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. And this wasn't about being difficult just for the sake of it. It was about seeking a deeper truth, a personal truth, beyond just stuff and what society expects. For Thoreau, that inner rhythm, that different drummer, that was the voice of your own conscience, your authentic self. He drove this home when he said, rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth. Truth for him was the ultimate goal, more valuable than any external applause or material gain. It was the foundation of real freedom and a deliberate life.
And the impact of this whole experiment, this memoir from a cabin, is just immense. Walden isn't just a diary. It's a really profound philosophical work. Its influence went way beyond his cabin. It profoundly shaped the Transcendentalist movement, that whole 19th century current about intuition, individualism, connection to nature. Thoreau was a key figure there, and later it inspired environmentalists, social activists like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., thinkers across generations who keep challenging how things are.
Looking at the bigger picture, yeah, its relevance today is undeniable. For introspection, for thinking about alternative lifestyles, for fostering that deeper connection with nature. Walden Pond itself is now a historical site, right? A testament to his ideas and that enduring human need for what he found there. Thoreau's work just keeps encouraging us to rethink what a rich, fulfilling life really means, urging us to question our own details, our routines, our priorities. It's still profoundly challenging and inspiring, asking us to look beyond surface success to deeper fulfillment.
So after this journey into Walden, what does this all mean for you? Navigating our complex, information-packed world today. In the spirit of Thoreau, maybe remember the liberating power of simplicity, not just in your stuff, but in your mind, too. Remember the wisdom that's there if we just pay attention to nature, to the world around us, and, the courage it takes to live authentically, following your own conscience, hearing that different drummer.
And building on Thoreau's idea of living deliberately, maybe consider one small detail in your own life, something you could choose to simplify away, or maybe one essential fact of life you could decide to really to prioritize. Starting this week, perhaps it's cutting back an hour of screen time, or just taking 10 minutes for mindful observation each day. How might that little shift change your perspective or your daily experience? What truth might you uncover?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Walden. We hope it sparks maybe a little deliberate living in your own world.